That's the idea. It just flows right through. Mark diagrams, write down what it tells you, and go. The only thing you would have had to come up with on your own here is that vertical angle. But on here, it says, hey, knucklehead, look for vertical angles. Knucklehead, there's a picture of what they look like. Should never get it wrong. Show you guys a little trick with parallels. One of the nice things, a nice trick to do when you're given parallel lines, is to follow them through the transversal. Like for here, that's parallel to this. Well, there's your transversal, and there's your parallel lines, which creates the alternate interior. Bless you. So if I move that around, I know that happens. So it just goes right there. Now, when you have alternate interior, remember, the reason for you to be able to write that down was if two parallel lines cut by a transversal, blah, blah, blah. Then remember the symbol? Got to use the symbol. Next one was given. So you have a side and an angle, which excuse me, which means you got to find another side. I'm sorry, not another side, another angle, or another side. What do you have? Another side. It's reflexive. See how fast these things become? There's not a lot to it. It really isn't. So let's put this together then and show what it's going to look like when you do one completely. Grab your notes and let's fill this one in. Try this. Take a second and write that down. Draw the diagram. Oh, I forgot to ask you guys. I reminded you last week about putting in on your squares the 5 different pictures, right?
Yeah.
Okay. For some reason, I never told that the first hour. Oops. So take a second, write that down, and then what we're going to do is kind of walk through the idea of how do you set up the rest of it, and how does it work? Paper's really, really strong.
I know.
I saw it jump out and get it, because it is an alligator, I think. Gee, where do you think you start these problems? Tigers? Bears? Start with your given. Now, if you're given that, what does your sheet say to do? say to do? Have it out in front of you. I'm not taking it away from you. What does it say? Make sure you have it in front of you. That way you can reference exactly what to do. If you don't have one, go get another one, make another one. Beg, borrow, and beg, I wouldn't want to say steal, but you know. Yes, ma'am? Okay, perfect. See what the right angles that are formed. So if BD is perpendicular to AC, that means you get right angles here and here. You okay with that? Write it down. So according to my sheet, it says, state the right angles that are formed. Well, why do I do that? Because it told me to. And my reason is, first one's given, I forgot to write that down. What's the reason that?
Definition of.
There you go. Definition, perpendicular. Now what does it say to do on your sheet? After you say the right angles, what do you say? Exactly. Now you just write down that they're congruent. And the reason? Done it. You've worked everything off of the sheet that you have. Again, make sure you have your sheet out in front of you to make sure you know where all these bits and pieces are. Okay? Have you fully utilized that, that given? Yeah. Go to the next one. It was D is the midpoint, right?
Yeah.
Okay? A midpoint creates two congruent segments. So you look at the diagram and figure out which ones. Well, if D is the midpoint on AC, that means these two are the same. According to progression sheet, it tells you segment congruent segment. Well, AD, DC. There you go. So right away, just from the given statements, from a progression sheet in front of you, did not have to do any thinking. You have 5 of them done. You have a side and an angle. What else is there? You got to find another angle or another side. What do we have?
There's the reflectives.
Exactly. That's all you had to come up with on your own. You have a reflexive side. The shared side here, BD. So you write it down. So literally, you had to come up with one of your own steps. That reflexive side. Now, your triangles are congruent because of what? Done. Bless you. Really no thinking involved. There's no really tough thinking here. Okay? It's kind of the same thing over and over again. Use your progression sheet, fill in the blanks. Do you think that might be a reason why I had you guys write those things out? Yes, ma'am.
So you filled in the right angles because of the perpendicular, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. Let's do one more. Can I go to a clean one here? I didn't want to get ahead of you. write that down. Write that down, draw the diagram, and see where it leads us. So what do you think the first thing is you're going to do? Write down your given. So if I start with that, it says angle S and angle V are right angles. What do you think I should do to my diagram then?
Mark it.
Mark it, exactly. Mark the diagram, put the little box in there. So now what do you say about right angles?
They're congruent.
Perfect, exactly. Have you written down everything you can from that one to the other? Yeah. Go to the next one. T is the midpoint of RW. So if that's the midpoint of RW, what do I do to my diagram? Mark it. Whoa,
Well, no, wait, not RW.
R and W. What am I marking? It's what am I marking? Okay. You were saying R and W. I don't, wait, we're not talking about angles here. That's why I was making sure. Yes, those two segments are the same. So you write it down. What did you just mark? I marked the two. Excuse me. I marked the two segments. So I write it down. RT, congruent, TW. You just use the midpoint.
There's the vertical angles.
Exactly right. You've got a bow tie. Whenever you have a bow tie, you look for the vertical angle. Okay? It's not going to be reflexive. It's the vertical angles because they're across from it. So we know that these two in here are going to have to be the same. Maybe what we should do on our progression sheet for vertical angles, you know how we have our diagram of what to look for? So maybe in that diagram, instead of just having where the two lines cross, draw a picture of like that bow tie so that we remember that that's what that looks like too, okay? Might not be a bad idea to have like an extra picture for that. So then I just have to write down what two angles were congruent and just make sure the lettering is correct. So it's STR. So angle STR has to match up to what angle on the other side? How would I have to write it if I go STR? Yeah. It has to start with V because the other one started with S, and both of those are, yeah, they're both 90 degrees. So you just make sure your lettering matches. So now in your diagram, what do you have that's congruent? Well, obviously we have triangles, but by how?
Angle side angle.
Is the side between the angles?
No.
So it is? Very good. on this one, but from what I've seen so far today from most people, this is actually a lot easier than everything else we've done.
It is.
Because we've gotten through all the hard stuff. Really. It is quite literally the easy stuff now. Yes, ma'am.
Now, I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but, okay, so when I first see them, I mark everything that's given and then what I see first.
That's fine.
That's okay, and then do that?
Just be careful though.
Yeah.
Sometimes you might mark it, but you forgot to write it down.
Okay.
That's why I slow by doing it this way, I slow it down. That's all. So just make sure whatever you mark on your diagram, make sure you wrote something about it. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Okay.
Not at all. It's a smart way of thinking about it. Okay. So let me do this. I have this one written down for you guys. Give me a second, I'll get you a copy of it. On this is that this, as you guys have heard me say before, geometry and math and all that really hasn't changed in thousands of years. There hasn't been a whole lot of new things out there. So what we've done a lot of times is we just kind of reuse these some old material things that we had lying around. It's kind of weird sounding going around there. Tanks. And I don't want you guys to think that just because there's 6 lines you have to have 6 steps, or you might have more than that, or you might have less than that. It totally happens, okay? So don't think that you're going to be bound by that many steps, okay? Don't think that, all right? By the time I ran these things off, I realized I had forgotten to wipe them out, and I wasn't going to rerun off them. It wasn't worth it. So what I want you to do here on this example is I want you to go through your progression sheet and the diagram. Mark what you have, mark what you know, mark what you can show. Everything that you can do in this proof is on your progression sheet, I think, except for one step. This should come as no surprise as how to set this one up. Follow your progression sheet. It tells you exactly what to do. Take a couple minutes and give it a shot.
Wait.
See, so as you start these through, you know perpendicular. We just got done doing one of those. That should be easy. You know when you have perpendicular, we get the 2 right angles. We write it down. Okay. We also know that right angles are congruent, so you write it down. That comes straight from the progression sheet. Okay. Go to the next given. BC bisects angle C. So when you have an angle bisector, that means angles are created. Which 2 angles?
ABC and DBC.
That's up here.
Oh, so I did that one.
Watch your letters. Angle C is at the bottom of the diagram. The 2 angles that are formed are ACB and DCB. Straight off of your progression sheet. What's up?
Do you need to put the ABC and DCC?
Yes.
Should I put back or
Well, you have to. Otherwise, because you just say the right angles, it doesn't mean that they're congruent. So you have that, plus the progression says to do so. That's right off the sheet, guys. Just a matter of figuring out what letters they are. So now, you've got two angles, which means you have to find a side between them or a side after them. What do you have? We have between them, right? Because of what? Reflexive. Are the triangles congruent now? Yeah, because of what? Angle, side angle. In that example, you had to come up with one step, reflexive. Everything else is on your progression sheet. Everything else is there for you. Okay? Now, excuse me. This cough is annoying. What I want you to do for the rest of these is I need to change a couple of the prove statements. There's still one more step for us to do, but we're not ready for it yet. So we're going to get to this today, or for tomorrow. On number 2, I'd like you, on the instructions, to gently cross this part out. All you're doing is proving the triangles. Okay? We'll come back and talk about what that means tomorrow. Okay? On 3. On 3, gently cross out that, but write in triangle ABC, congruent triangle ADC. Okay. All right? On the other side, same deal. Gently cross out this portion, and we're going to write triangle ABC, triangle ABC. The 5th one you're fine, because it has it written up just as a triangle. And the 6th one, we'll do the same 2 triangles again. Again, one last time, cross out the ADCB and do triangle ABC, triangle ADC. There is absolutely nothing new on any of these problems. Everything is on your progression sheets, okay? You got those 5 for tonight, but I forgot to start with this. I need you guys to take your Chromebooks out real quick and try to access the website.
Yeah,
I know, there's an end around about it. I figured out they finally figured out what was wrong with all of it. My website.
I never let me go in.
Over the past couple of days, something happened with the Google.